A lonely man sat beneath the cherry blossoms, alone with a ring and a memory. Then a little girl appeared, tiny, barefoot, holding a melting popsicle. "Sir, that ring looks like Mommy's," she whispered. His fingers froze, and in that single breath, everything he lost began to return. Charleston spring had a way of waking everything up. The dogwoods blushed pink, wisteria twisted through wrought iron gates, and the air smelled like honeysuckle and new beginnings. But none of that registered with Liam Carter. He sat on a bench near the koi pond in Magnolia Gardens, his navy blazer folded neatly beside him, one hand wrapped loosely around a takeaway coffee he hadn't sipped. The other hand? It turned a sapphire engagement ring slowly on his finger, not out of sentiment, but out of ritual. The habit of remembering what he'd never truly been able to forget. They say spring is for starting over. Liam had stopped starting a long time ago. Couples passed. Families laughed near the old oak with the hanging swing. Somewhere, a little girl squealed about frogs. But Liam just stared at the gravel beneath his shoes. He thought, they bloom whether someone's here to see them or not. Just like last year. Just like every year, a small voice cut through the stillness. "Sir, that ring looks like Mommy's." He blinked. The voice hadn't come from inside his head. Turning, he found a little girl standing a few feet away, her curls wild from the breeze, her red t-shirt a bit too big, her white sneakers slightly scuffed. She held a half-melted popsicle in one hand and a sketchbook in the other. Her eyes weren't shy. They were searching. Liam's body tensed. Without thinking, he clutched the ring tighter. A sharp, almost electric jolt went down his spine. "I'm sorry," he managed, throat dry. She stepped a little closer, eyes not leaving his hand. "That ring, it looks like Mommy's." Liam looked down at the ring, then back at her. "Your mom has one like this?" She nodded, slow and sure. "It's blue like the sky, but darker. Mommy said it's called a sapphire." Her lips curled in a tiny smile. She said it was special. Liam's heart thudded against his ribs. He'd only had one ring like this made. One, custom-designed, handmade in Florence. It wasn't sold in stores. It wasn't in catalogs. He leaned forward slightly, trying to keep his voice calm. "What's your name?" The little girl hesitated, then glanced over her shoulder as if checking for someone. When she turned back, her voice dropped to a whisper. "Claire." "Claire," Liam repeated gently. "How old are you?" "7, she said, then looked down at her popsicle, as if remembering she was a child and not a messenger from some parallel past. He wanted to ask more, about her mom, about the ring. But before he could, Claire suddenly stepped back. Her grip tightened on the sketchbook. "I have to go," she said. "Wait!" He stood up. But she was already running, straight into the hedge-lined rose maze nearby. Liam's feet pounded the gravel seconds later. "Claire!" he called, dodging around a slow-walking couple, nearly tripping over a boy chasing a frisbee. He ducked into the rose maze, turning left, then right, pushing past tourists, eyes scanning every path. "Claire!" he shouted again. But when he reached the center, all he found was silence. No little girl, no red shirt, only the sketchbook left in his hands. She was gone. Liam stood there, surrounded by blooming roses and laughing strangers, his breath uneven. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't thinking about his empire, his meetings, or the silent, echoing penthouse he called home. He was thinking about a little girl with serious eyes, and the ring that never should have been seen by anyone, except Sarah. The sketchbook lay on Liam's kitchen counter like a forgotten artifact, water-stained from the garden's damp grass and smelling faintly of sugar and crayons. He hadn't opened it immediately. For hours after he returned from the park, he'd sat in his penthouse's sunlit atrium, staring at the sketchbook like it might vanish if he touched it too soon. When he finally opened it, something shifted in his chest. On the first page was a drawing of a woman with long, dark hair, wearing a blue dress. Her hand was outstretched, and on her finger, a sapphire ring, shaded carefully in blue. Beneath it, in a child's careful handwriting, were 3 words, "My mommy's ring." Liam flipped the page. The next drawing showed a man, tall, faceless, wearing a suit, standing beside a window. Behind the glass, a small girl looked out. Bars had been drawn across the window like prison slats. Beneath this one, "Before the bad man moved us." His hand gripped the edge of the countertop. The granite felt cold against his palm. He flipped again. More drawings. A house with broken shingles, a woman crying, a man with red X's over his eyes, and then finally, a picture of a ring. The same one. But this time, it was labeled, "Her Promise." Liam sat down hard on a stool. The sapphire ring on his own finger seemed to grow heavier. He looked out over Charleston's skyline, the city wrapped in late afternoon haze. Horns honked far below, but in here, silence. He reached for his phone and texted Noah. "Cancel my next 2 meetings. Something's come up. Don't ask what." Then another message. To Carmen Delaney. She'd been a reliable investigator for years, discreet and tireless. He forwarded photos of the drawings. Beneath them he typed, "Need everything you can find on a girl named Claire Monroe, approximately 7 years old. No records I can see. Might be off the books, CPS case." Carmen replied in under 3 minutes. "I'm on it. That ring in her drawings. Is it what I think it is?" Liam stared at the ring on his finger. "It's exactly what you think it is." 3 days passed. Claire didn't return to the garden. Liam went every day. He brought the sketchbook with him just in case. Sat on the same bench. Stared into the rose maze like it might cough her back up. And then, late Friday afternoon, he spotted the flash of red. She was sitting on the ground near the koi pond, sketchbook in her lap again, popsicle this time untouched. Liam walked slowly, careful not to startle her. "Claire?" he said gently. She looked up. For a moment she didn't speak. Her expression was guarded. The popsicle in her hand had started to drip. "I didn't think you'd be back," she said. "I wasn't sure you would," he replied. She studied him for a moment, then stood. He noticed it then. The bruise. Faint, just below the sleeve of her t-shirt. A yellow-purple smudge like someone had grabbed her too hard. His stomach flipped. "Did you fall?" he asked softly, gesturing toward her arm. Claire froze. Her eyes darted sideways. "He gets mad when I talk about Mommy," she said quickly, too quickly. Liam crouched to her level, trying to keep his voice steady. "Claire, who gets mad?" She hugged the sketchbook to her chest like a shield. "The man we live with. He said she's never coming back." But I don't believe him. Liam's chest ached. He wanted to scoop her up, drive her away from whoever this man was, but she barely knew him. He had to be careful. Strategic. "I want to help," he said gently. "But I need you to trust me." She hesitated. Then slowly, she reached for the chain around her neck and opened a tiny locket. Inside was a folded photo, worn, creased at the edges. Claire unfolded it and handed it to him. Liam's hands trembled slightly as he opened it. It was Sarah, older, tired-looking, but unmistakably Sarah, Her eyes, her mouth, her hands resting on Claire's shoulders. Liam staggered back, sitting hard on the bench behind him. The world tilted. The flowers around him blurred. It wasn't possible. Sarah had been presumed dead for 7 years. An accident, a storm, a closed file. Even Carmen hadn't found a trace. And yet, here she was, in Claire's locket. He looked up at the girl. This is your mom? Claire nodded, voice small. She sings to me when I can't sleep. Or she used to. Liam blinked rapidly, trying to focus. The pieces were clicking into place, too fast to process. Where is she now? He asked carefully. Claire looked down. I don't know. One day she was gone. And then Evan came. The name hit Liam like a punch. He didn't recognize it, not yet. But the way Claire said it, the way her body folded in on itself like she was preparing to be hit, he knew this wasn't just neglect. It was something worse. Can you tell me where you live? He asked. Claire hesitated. Then she pulled a crumpled receipt out of her pocket. This is from the store near our house. That's all I have. Liam took it gently, his thumb brushing the edge of the paper. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Claire, he said softly, I'm going to find out what's going on. And I promise, you're not alone. She smiled faintly, then hugged the sketchbook to her chest again. As she turned to leave, she looked over her shoulder and added almost as an afterthought, You're nicer than he said rich people would be. Then she disappeared back into the hedge maze, and Liam sat motionless, holding Sarah's photo in one hand and a piece of Claire's quiet cry for help in the other. And for the first time in years, something inside him cracked open, not in grief, but in purpose. He wasn't going to let that little girl disappear again. The Charleston skyline shimmered against the glass walls of Liam's penthouse, but he didn't notice. His world had narrowed to one thing: a printed photo of Sarah Monroe, alive, and a grocery store receipt from a rundown corner store in Jasper County, Georgia. The slip of paper sat beneath a magnifying glass on his marble kitchen island, while Liam paced the room in slow, tight circles, the sketchbook still tucked beneath his arm like a holy text. Noah stood nearby, his laptop open. You're sure this is her? He asked for the third time. Liam didn't even glance up. Positive. I can cross-reference receipts, see if there are any consistent purchases tied to EBT or prepaid cards from that store. If she's alive, she had to buy food. Do it. And I want Carmen watching that store. Anyone coming and going. Every day she's already on it, Noah replied. The sapphire ring on Liam's finger glinted as he rubbed his forehead. His body felt wired. Part caffeine, part adrenaline, part something deeper. Fury. Sarah had been alive all this time. Claire was living with someone dangerous. And the more he pieced together, the more Liam realized this wasn't just about one family torn apart. Something bigger was happening. Carmen called the next morning with the first real break. Whoever's been using Sarah's identity, there's no legal trail past 5 years ago. But I did find a name, Evan Royce. Used to work in Child Protective Services, quietly dismissed for misconduct. Never charged. Guess what county? Jasper, Liam said, jaw tightening. He's listed at a trailer park address 20 minutes from the store on that receipt. But he's slippery. No utilities in his name. No bank accounts. Everything's cash. Liam's voice turned cold. Keep eyes on him. If Claire's there, I want her out, safe, before sunset. Liam, Carmen's voice softened. Be careful. This isn't just one bad foster situation. There's movement, patterns, kids who vanish after reassignment paperwork that no one verifies. I think this runs deeper. That night, Liam returned to the garden bench again. This time he came prepared. Claire was already there, sitting cross-legged on the grass, drawing flowers. When she saw him, her face lit up, not with childish glee, but with something closer to relief, like a soldier spotting an ally. "I brought you something," Liam said, kneeling beside her. From his coat pocket, he pulled out a sleek silver phone, simplified for kids. One button glowed blue. "This only calls me. No games, no apps, just me. If anything ever feels scary again, press it." Claire took it slowly, as if it might break. "Even in the middle of the night?" "Especially then," he said gently. She tucked it into her small satchel without a word. Then, almost hesitantly, she reached for his wrist and tapped the sapphire ring. "Did Mommy give you that?" she asked. Liam nodded. "A long time ago." Claire studied him. "Did she love you?" More than anything, he wanted to answer yes, to say it clearly, strongly, but the truth was knotted and raw. "She did," he said finally, "and I loved her." "I still do," Claire smiled like she already knew that. Then she stood, brushed the dirt off her pants, and said, "I have to go now. But thank you for the phone." Liam nodded, watching her disappear into the fading sunlight. He didn't follow this time. He knew he couldn't push too hard. Not yet. He returned home and sat in the silent stillness of his penthouse, untouched dinner on the table. For once, the city lights below didn't comfort him. He kept glancing at the phone he'd left beside his keys. It rang at 10:42 p.m. He grabbed it so fast it nearly slipped from his hand. Claire's voice came through the speaker, small and shaking. "He came home early," she whispered. "He's yelling." "I don't know where to hide, Claire," Liam said quickly, rising from the couch and heading for the door. "I'm coming. Just stay on the line. Keep talking to me in the background." He heard a man's voice, slurred, angry. Something crashed. Claire whimpered. Liam bolted for the elevator, his pulse thudding in his ears. "Claire, can you lock a door? Get under a bed?" "I'm in the closet." "But..." He found the sketchbook. He's mad. The elevator doors opened. Liam stepped in, jamming the keycard. "Hold on, Claire. I'm coming. I need you to be brave, okay? You know how brave you are?" But her voice didn't answer. Instead, click. The line went dead. "Claire?" he shouted into the phone. "Claire?" Nothing. Liam stood frozen in the elevator, the silence on the other end louder than any scream. Then suddenly, he moved. Fast. The car screeched into the street seconds later. Taillights streaked past as Liam weaved through downtown traffic, heart racing. He didn't care about red lights or speeding cameras. He just kept hearing her voice in his head. That tremble, that fear. He called Carmen. She used the phone. It cut off. I think he found her. "I'm already tracking her GPS ping," she said. "It's active." Last signal was a farmhouse off Route 17, 2 miles outside Ridgeland. "Sending you coordinates now," Liam floored the gas. The dashboard lights blurred. His knuckles were white against the wheel. He'd lost Sarah once. He would not lose Claire. Not tonight. The farmhouse sat beneath a sagging canopy of Spanish moss, its porch buckled and peeling under the weight of rot and time. Liam pulled up just before midnight, tires crunching against the gravel path like bones underfoot. The headlights of his SUV cast long shadows across the crumbling siding. This was no home. It was a trap someone forgot to dismantle. Carmen was already there, parked down the dirt road, hidden in the dark beside a row of skeletal trees. She emerged from the shadows, black jacket zipped to her throat, flashlight in hand. "Phone's GPS led us here," she said low. "Signal's cold now." Might have been turned off or smashed. Liam didn't wait for more. He climbed the porch steps, each one groaning like it might snap. The door hung half open. No lock, no light inside. The scent hit first. Mildew, animal urine, old cigarette smoke. Liam's jaw tightened. He stepped into a living room that looked like time had surrendered. Torn furniture, broken blinds, and a cracked TV screen layered in dust. A child's sock lay near the couch. A chipped bowl with dry cereal sat on the floor. Claire had been here. "Check the back," he said to Carmen. She nodded and disappeared down a hallway. Liam moved toward the far wall where hand-drawn scribbles stretched up toward the ceiling. Flowers, clouds, stars. And in the middle, a stick figure with dark hair holding hands, with a smaller figure wearing a red dress. "Me plus mommy," the crayon caption read. His eyes burned. In the next room, he found what had once been a bedroom. The wallpaper peeled in long curls. A broken fan hung limp from the ceiling. There, on a moldy rocking chair, sat Claire's stuffed rabbit, the one she'd clutched in a drawing he now knew by heart. He reached for it slowly, brushing dirt and lint from its stitched ear. His throat tightened as he held it against his chest, like it could absorb the rage and grief clawing their way up his ribs. "She was here," he whispered. A creak echoed beneath his feet. Carmen had returned, pointing her flashlight toward a loose board in the corner. "Something's underneath." Together they pried it open. Nails screeched as the board gave way. Beneath it, buried in dust and spider webs, was a small rusted box. Liam pulled it free, heart pounding, hands trembling. Inside were forged CPS forms, transfer documents for Claire, all signed under different aliases, one for Alabama, one for Georgia, all fake. But beneath the papers, something else glinted faintly. He pushed the documents aside, and there it was. The ring. Her ring. The same custom sapphire band he'd given Sarah all those years ago, now dulled with time, but unmistakably hers. He lifted it carefully, like it might shatter from memory alone. The blue stone was scratched, the metal worn, but it pulsed with a kind of stubborn truth. She had hidden it here, like a promise left behind, like a message. Then, beneath the velvet lining, another fold of aged paper. He recognized the handwriting instantly. "To Liam, if I don't make it." He sat down hard on the edge of the bed, the paper shaking in his hands. The letter read, "Liam, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stop them. I tried. I really did. I uncovered things I wasn't supposed to see. Children moved without records, false foster homes, staged adoptions. Evan was at the center of it. When I pushed too hard, they came for me. Claire is mine, and yours. She was born after the storm, after you were told I was gone. I wanted to find you, to tell you, but they kept us running. They made me disappear. Now they want her, to use her, or silence her like they tried to silence me. Please, Liam, find her, keep her safe. She's everything. Love always." Sarah. Liam's heart stopped. Claire, his daughter. His breath caught as memories collided in his mind. The missed calls from Sarah the night of the storm, the wreckage that never showed a body, the closed investigation. All of it a lie. The photo, the sketchbook, her eyes. She was his. He stood slowly, clutching the letter to his chest. The floor seemed to tilt beneath him. All this time, he'd been mourning Sarah, not knowing she'd left behind a part of them both. Carmen touched his arm. "Liam, you need to see this." She held out her phone, On the screen was a grainy security image from a highway camera near the Georgia-Florida line. Evan Royce. He was driving a white van. Inside, barely visible in the back window, were three small figures. One of them wore a red t-shirt. "Timestamp?" Liam asked, his voice hollow. 30 minutes ago." Liam turned toward the door. "We need to move." "Now, wait," Carmen said, grabbing his arm. "He's armed and he's desperate." "We'll need backup." "I'll call Dana," Liam said. "Tell her we have a federal kidnapping case with trafficking ties." "We don't wait." "Not another hour," Carmen nodded, already dialing. Liam looked down once more at the stuffed rabbit, the faded letter, and the sketchbook he now knew by heart. His world had shifted again, but this time it hadn't shattered. It had narrowed into focus. Claire wasn't just a child he wanted to protect. She was his, and no one, not Evan Royce, not any system that had failed her, was going to take her again. As they raced into the night, past open fields and flickering gas stations, Liam felt something in his chest that had long been dormant. Fire. He wasn't just chasing down a criminal anymore. He was going to war for his family. The sun hadn't risen yet, but the horizon glowed faint orange as Liam stood on the side of a rural gas station off I-95 near Daytona Beach. His hands were buried deep in the pockets of a faded denim jacket borrowed from Carmen's truck. The usual perfection of his attire, tailored suits, polished shoes, was long gone. What mattered now wasn't image, it was impact. Claire's face flashed in his mind every few seconds. Her tangled curls, her bruised arm, her whisper in the garden. "He doesn't like when I talk about Mommy." Carmen stood beside him, earpiece in, whispering to Agent Dana Reeves on a secure line. Parked inconspicuously nearby were two dark sedans, each containing FBI agents dressed like exhausted travelers. The cover was paper-thin, but it didn't matter. The goal wasn't stealth, it was timing. Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket, a message from Dana. "He's coming in. Alone. Stalls at pump 4. Be ready." The sting was set with surgical care. Carmen had spent hours messaging from a secure burner phone, posing as a buyer in the underground market. The language had to be right. Urgent but cautious. Cash ready, no questions. Evan took the bait. The location? A sleepy roadside gas station near Daytona. Time? Just before sunrise. Two black sedans waited nearby, posing as parked travelers. Inside, federal agents sipped lukewarm coffee, watching everything. This wasn't about drama. This was about timing and getting Claire out alive. The white van rolled in like something from a ghost story. Dirt-caked, one headlight out, windshield cracked. Liam felt his chest clench when he saw the outline of small heads bobbing in the back. Claire was in there. Carmen gave him a nod. "You sure you can pull this off?" Liam's eyes were like steel. "I don't care if I have to crawl through glass. I'm getting her out." The van sputtered to a halt. A man stepped out, disheveled, lanky, sweat-stained shirt clinging to his chest. Evan Royce. His eyes darted everywhere. He approached Liam with a twitchy smile and a limp handshake. "You him?" Evan asked. "The buyer?" Liam didn't blink. "Yeah. You said you had 3. Healthy, quiet. That still true?" Evan chuckled, sniffing. "Well, 2 are quiet. One's got a mouth on her. Can't stop talking about her dead mom. Sentimental type. But she'll break eventually." Liam's jaw flexed, a muscle twitching near his temple. He forced a grin. "I like a challenge." "Good," Evan said, rubbing his hands together. "I need to unload him fast. Got people sniffing. It's getting hot. Cash only, yeah?" "Of course." Evan turned toward the van. You can take a peek." Liam followed. As Evan yanked open the back doors, the scent of old fast food and sweat hit him. Inside were 3 children, 2 boys and Claire, curled into herself in the corner. Her red shirt streaked with dirt. Her face lit up when she saw Liam, but she didn't say a word. She just looked relieved. Liam took 1 step forward. "She's coming with me." Evan blinked. No, that ain't how this works. Payment first. She's my daughter." Evan's smile froze. "What?" Liam raised his hand, a signal. From behind the gas station, black-clad agents burst into motion, shouting, guns raised. "FBI! Hands where we can see them!" Evan spun, panicked. Claire screamed. He grabbed her by the arm and yanked her out of the van, using her as a shield. Liam moved without thinking. "Don't!" Evan barked. "I'll hurt her, I swear." "Let her go," Liam said, voice calm, lethal. "You lay 1 more finger on her and I promise, prison will feel like heaven compared to what I'll do." Claire squirmed in Evan's grip. "Daddy!" That one word cracked something in the air. Liam surged forward just as Evan stumbled backward, tripping over the gas pump curb. Claire tumbled free, scraped her knees, and Liam caught her before she hit the pavement. Evan scrambled to run, but Dana was on him in a heartbeat. She tackled him hard, pinning him down as other agents moved in. Sirens wailed now, the real ones, backup finally arriving, but Liam only had eyes for Claire. She was sobbing into his chest, her arms locked tight around his neck. "I thought you weren't coming," she whispered. "I will always come for you," he said, voice breaking. Her small hand clutched the front of his shirt, not letting go. "You're really my daddy?" He nodded, holding her even tighter. "Yes. And I'm never letting you go again." The other 2 children were carefully lifted from the van, wrapped in blankets, escorted into waiting ambulances. Dana approached Liam quietly as paramedics checked Claire's pulse. "She's strong," Dana said. "They all are." But Claire, she held those boys together in there. Like a little general, she's her mother's daughter. Liam murmured, brushing her hair back. Dana's face softened. "And yours too." Evan screamed something incoherent as he was dragged into a cruiser. Claire flinched, and Liam immediately shielded her view. "It's over," he whispered in her ear. "He'll never hurt you again." As the sun finally crested the horizon, casting gold across the lot, Liam looked down at the child in his arms. For so long, he drifted through his wealth, his life, like a ghost with no tether. But now, he'd found something more powerful than vengeance, more urgent than grief. He'd found her, and he wouldn't waste another second. Back in Charleston, the world seemed to slow down, as if the air itself were trying to make room for healing. For the first time in over a decade, Liam Carter walked through the front doors of his mansion and didn't feel hollow inside. He had Claire in his arms, her head resting on his shoulder, her tiny fingers tangled in the fabric of his shirt, like she was afraid the moment might vanish if she let go. Noah stood in the foyer when they arrived, stunned into silence. The last time he'd seen Liam this shaken, it had been after Sarah's funeral, or what they'd believed was her funeral. Now, standing before him, was a child who carried Sarah's chin, Sarah's eyes, and Liam's determined brow. "Is that?" Noah whispered. Liam nodded. "Her name is Claire." Noah blinked, then dropped to one knee. "Welcome home, Claire." Claire tilted her head shyly, then whispered, "Are you the man who keeps texting about oatmeal?" Liam choked on a laugh. "That would be him." They settled Claire into one of the guest rooms, which Liam had already begun preparing weeks earlier, not even realizing why. He had claimed it was for a visiting cousin's child. But deep down, something had stirred, a readiness he hadn't dared name. Now, that room had become her sanctuary. He filled the bathtub himself and let her pick her own bubbles. She chose vanilla. He sat outside the bathroom door while she hummed softly, then helped her comb out the tangles in her curls. It took nearly an hour. She didn't complain once. Later, Liam tucked her into bed and pulled up a chair. "How many blueberries do you want in your oatmeal tomorrow morning?" Claire's eyes fluttered open. 3. No more, no less. He nodded seriously. Noted. She reached out, hand brushing his. "Will you stay till I sleep?" "I'll stay as long as you want." Her grip didn't loosen. In the days that followed, a rhythm began to form. Quiet, hesitant, but real. Mornings began with oatmeal, exactly 3 blueberries. Afternoons meant sketching together on the back porch. Liam discovered Claire loved drawing trees that looked like they were whispering. "They have secrets," she said. "Like us." At night, she slept with the stuffed rabbit Liam had saved from the farmhouse. She called it Buttons. "Because one of its eyes is missing," she explained. "So now it sees the world sideways." Carmen dropped off a sealed envelope 3 days later. Inside were DNA results. Positive match. 99.9%. Liam Carter, biological father. He didn't need the paper, but seeing it in black and white unraveled something in him. It confirmed what his heart already knew. But there was more. Dana Reeves arrived that afternoon with new intel. She sat across from Liam in the study, her tone somber. "We found something, or rather, someone," she began. A woman matching Sarah's profile was checked into a psychiatric facility in the Florida Panhandle 5 years ago, under a false name. She was flagged as delusional, unstable. But we reviewed the file. She kept saying the same 3 things over and over. Liam's breath caught. "What things?" Dana flipped open a folder. "Her name is Claire. He's coming for her. Tell Liam." Liam gripped the edge of the desk. "She's sedated most days," Dana continued. "Kept quiet. We're arranging a safe evaluation. You'll be able to see her soon." He closed his eyes. Sarah, alive. The weight of that truth settled somewhere deep in his ribs. Heavy, beautiful, terrifying. That night, as Liam sat by Claire's bed, she stirred and reached for something under her pillow. "I have something for you," she said sleepily. She handed him a folded piece of paper, yellowed and worn. It was another letter, this one clearly written by Sarah, addressed simply, "If this ever reaches you, it means he found her." The message was short, scrawled in hurried pen. "Liam, if you're reading this, you found her. Thank you. I never stopped loving you. Please tell her stories of how we met, of springtime in Charleston, and when she's ready, give her the ring. All my love, Sarah." Liam's eyes stung. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the small velvet box, no longer the one he'd once used to propose, but the one he had found buried beneath the floorboards of that rotting farmhouse. The box had been rusted shut, hidden inside a metal tin Sarah had sealed away with forged CPS papers and a farewell letter. Inside, cradled in worn velvet, had been this ring, her ring, dulled by time, but unbroken. It wasn't just jewelry. It was survival. It was proof she had never stopped fighting. He opened the box slowly now, revealing the same sapphire band, not polished, not perfect, but real. The one Claire had drawn in her sketchbook. The one Sarah had hidden for someone she still believed would come. Claire gasped. "That's it. That's Mommy's." He nodded, voice cracking. It was hers. And if you want, it can be yours too. She reached out gently, cupping the ring like it was fragile glass. Can I wear it on a necklace? Like she used to? Of course, Liam whispered. And one day when she comes home, you'll show her you never forgot her. Claire blinked slowly, processing every word. Do you think she'll remember me? Liam knelt beside the bed. I think she's survived all this time because of you. And when she sees you, she'll know she's home. The next morning, Noah brought in a delicate silver chain. Liam slipped the ring onto it and fastened it around Claire's neck himself. She looked down at it, then smiled. Now we match. Liam touched the ring on his own hand, the one Sarah had given him so long ago. Yeah, now we do. That evening, just as the house had finally settled into a hush, Claire asleep with buttons in her arms, Liam sitting by the fireplace, tracing the curves of the sapphire ring around her neck. Carmen arrived unannounced. She didn't knock, just stepped inside the study with a look that told him everything had changed again. We found something, she said, voice low. A woman matching Sarah's description checked into a psychiatric facility in the Florida Panhandle 5 years ago, admitted under a false name. No known relatives. Liam's heart stilled mid-beat. Carmen placed a file on the desk. She was flagged as delusional, kept talking about someone named Claire and a man named Liam. We're verifying now, but she didn't have to finish. Liam was already reaching for the file. Outside the window, the cherry blossoms were beginning to bloom again, soft petals fluttering in the wind. Something was shifting. Hope wasn't just possible. It was here. The psychiatric hospital didn't look like a prison from the outside. It sat tucked behind a long, winding road in a quiet Florida pine forest, its red brick exterior softened by ivy and years of silence. But Liam could feel it in his bones. This place had swallowed something sacred. He stood in the visitors' lobby with Agent Dana Reeves and Carmen at his side. His fists were clenched so tightly that the whites of his knuckles gleamed against the dark cuffs of his coat. A clipboard sat ignored on the counter in front of him, the ink from his signature still drying. You don't have to go in alone, Carmen offered gently. I do, Liam said. She knows me. Or, she used to. Dana gave him a nod. She's been sedated for years, misdiagnosed with paranoid delusions. But her vitals are good. She's strong. She just needs something to reach for. She needs to hear her name, Liam replied. Then he took a deep breath and followed the nurse down the long hallway, heart hammering. They stopped at room 214. The nurse pushed open the door. There, curled in a wheelchair beside a window streaked with pollen, sat Sarah Monroe. Her once bright auburn hair was dull and tied back in a loose braid. Her cheeks were hollow, her posture slumped. But her profile, even after everything, struck Liam like lightning. The curve of her nose, the shape of her hands resting in her lap. His Sarah. He stepped inside slowly. Sarah? He whispered. She didn't move. Sarah, it's me. It's Liam, still nothing. He knelt in front of her and gently took her hand. It was colder than he remembered, thinner, but it was hers. I found her, he said softly. Claire. She's safe now. You did it. You kept her safe long enough for me to find her. At that, her fingers twitched. Liam blinked back tears. She's brave. So brave. She remembers you. She wears your ring around her neck. She calls me Daddy. A tremor passed through Sarah's shoulders. Her lips parted just slightly. She draws trees that whisper, he continued, voice shaking. Just like you used to. And then, It happened. Her eyes slowly opened, glazed, confused, but blue as ever. Her gaze flicked to his, uncertain at first, and then full of recognition. "Liam?" she rasped. His heart shattered. "I'm here," he choked out, gripping her hands in both of his. "I'm right here." Tears spilled down Sarah's face, carving trails across skin that hadn't known joy in years. "Is she okay?" "She's more than okay," he said, smiling through the tears. "She's waiting for you." Later that week, Sarah was transferred to a private care facility in Charleston with round-the-clock trauma specialists. Carmen arranged the paperwork. Dana pulled favors. Liam paid for everything. No questions asked. The first time Claire walked into the recovery room, she clutched her drawing pad like a shield. Liam stood behind her, hand on her shoulder. Sarah sat propped up in bed, a warm throw blanket over her legs, her hair now washed and braided neatly. "Mommy?" Claire's voice trembled. Sarah's eyes widened, full of disbelief and awe. "Claire? Baby?" Claire took 3 steps forward, then ran. She launched herself onto the bed and wrapped her arms around her mother's waist, sobbing. "I kept your ring safe. I wore it every day." I didn't forget Sarah stroked her hair, kissing the top of her head again and again. "I knew you'd find me. I knew you'd both come." That night, Liam stayed at the hospital past visiting hours. Sarah had fallen asleep holding Claire's hand. He stood at the window, staring out at the distant city lights. "It's not over yet," Carmen said beside him. "Evan's still waiting for trial, but I have something for you." She handed him a manila envelope. Inside, documented evidence of Evan Royce's activities. Years of falsified records, underground foster placements, bribes to agencies. "We got him, Liam," Carmen said, "and we're taking him down for good." Court proceedings began 2 weeks later. The courtroom buzzed with press and community officials. Evan Royce sat in chains, his face pale and sunken, surrounded by federal marshals. The charges read like a list of every parent's nightmare: child trafficking, falsification of government documents, endangerment of minors, and obstruction of justice. Liam testified first, describing the night Claire called him, the farmhouse, the ring, the letter. His voice never cracked, but his eyes said everything. Then Claire took the stand. She was nervous but brave. Wearing a white dress and the ring on a chain around her neck, she climbed onto the witness chair and faced the jury. "He said Mommy was crazy," she said, voice small but clear. "He told me good mommies don't fight back. But my mommy fought anyway. She kept me safe." A hush fell over the courtroom. One juror wept openly, another gritted their teeth. Evan never looked up. When the verdict came in, Liam sat with Claire on his lap, Sarah in a wheelchair beside him. On all counts, guilty, sentenced to life imprisonment. "No parole," Claire whispered. "Does that mean he's gone forever?" Liam nodded. "Yes, sweetheart." Forever outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions, but Liam ignored them all. He held Sarah's hand with one and Claire's with the other as they stepped into the waiting car. Later that afternoon, in the garden behind their Charleston home, Liam sat on the same bench where everything had begun. The cherry blossoms had bloomed in full this time, brighter than ever. Claire sat beside him, legs swinging, holding a pen. "What are you working on?" he asked. "A new signature," she said, tongue poking out the side of her mouth. He smiled. "Oh, yeah?" She turned the paper around proudly. Claire Carter. Liam's chest filled with something he hadn't felt in years. Certainty, wholeness, family. He pulled a document from his briefcase. Want to make it official?" Claire beamed and nodded. And there, under a flowering tree, Liam signed the adoption papers. No lawyers, no courtroom, just truth and trust. Claire Carter, official, forever. The cherry blossoms returned exactly 1 year after Claire first walked into Liam's life with a melting popsicle and an impossible memory. But this time, the garden wasn't silent. It pulsed with laughter, footsteps, wind through soft pink petals. And life. Claire skipped ahead in a flowing white sundress, her curls bouncing with every step. She wore the sapphire ring proudly on a chain that dangled just above her heart. In one hand, she clutched a worn sketchbook. In the other, a folded picnic blanket too big for her arms, but too precious to let anyone else carry. Behind her walked Liam and Sarah, hand in hand, surrounded by the comforting hum of spring, the rustling trees, the chatter of nearby children, and the gentle splash of the garden's fountain. Sarah wore a pale blue scarf, a gift from Claire, tied neatly around her neck. She looked radiant, still healing, still finding herself, but whole again. As they reached the bench beneath the oldest cherry blossom tree, Claire dropped the blanket and spun around dramatically. "This is it," she declared. Liam smiled. "It is." Claire looked up at Sarah, then pointed to the bench. "This is where I found Daddy." Sarah tilted her head, eyes soft with wonder. "Really?" "Mm-hmm." Claire nodded solemnly. He was sitting right there, looking sad, twisting the ring like it was a worry rock. So I told him it looked like Mommy's. Sarah laughed gently, and a tear slipped down her cheek. And that changed everything. Claire plopped down on the bench, flipping open her sketchbook. "Wait, I made something." She turned the pad around, revealing a drawing, crayon and charcoal. It showed the three of them, Claire in the middle, smiling wide, arms linked with Liam and Sarah. Above them bloomed a cherry blossom tree, its petals swirling like confetti. She'd drawn Buttons the rabbit sitting beside Sarah's feet, and in the corner, she wrote one word in careful cursive: home. Liam took a slow breath, his throat tight. "That's beautiful, sweetheart." "Want to see the best part?" Claire whispered, leaning forward conspiratorially. "What's that?" Liam asked, matching her hush. "I added a surprise." She pointed to Sarah's drawn hand, where a second sapphire ring now glittered, not just on paper, but in real life. Liam blinked, looked at the sketch again, and then reached into his pocket. He'd carried the box for weeks. Not because he doubted his choice, but because he wanted the moment to come, not with drama, not with pressure, but with peace. Now, it had arrived. He dropped to one knee in front of the bench. Sarah's hand flew to her chest. Liam opened the small velvet box, revealing a simple sapphire band. Not the one from the past, but a new one, forged for the future. "For the life we never got to live," he said softly, voice catching. "And the one we finally will." Sarah's eyes welled with tears. She didn't speak right away. She simply extended her hand, trembling but steady. Liam slid the ring onto her finger, then leaned forward, pressing his forehead against hers. Claire clapped. "Does this mean I get to be the flower girl and the maid of honor?" Liam chuckled, standing. "Only if you also agree to do the first dance with me." "Deal!" Claire beamed. They spread the blanket on the grass beneath the cherry blossoms. Sarah brought out sandwiches cut into triangles, and Liam poured lemonade from a glass bottle. They ate, talked, shared memories. Some painful, some funny, all real. There were silences too, but none of them heavy anymore. just pauses between notes in a song still being written. As the afternoon waned and the light turned golden, Claire laid her head in Sarah's lap and dozed. Sarah stroked her hair while Liam tucked the blanket around them. "She's everything we hoped for," Sarah whispered. "She's more," Liam said. A breeze picked up, swirling petals around them like confetti from some invisible celebration. One landed in Claire's curls, another on Sarah's ring. Liam caught one before it touched the ground and held it up. "She said something last night," he murmured. Sarah looked over. She said, "I'm glad I said something that day." Sarah smiled. "She was brave. She changed everything," he said, watching the petal fall from his hand. Claire stirred slightly, then sat up and blinked, bleary-eyed. "Did I miss dessert?" "You're the dessert," Liam teased. Claire giggled and pointed toward the ice cream stand in the distance. "Race you!" And just like that, she was off, sprinting across the grass, sandals flying. Sarah stood slowly, leaning on Liam as they followed behind. As they walked through the garden, hand in hand, hearts repaired, the future didn't feel like a burden anymore. It felt like a promise. One built not from wealth or power or perfection, but from one little girl's question, one memory, one choice to care. And as the sun dipped low, painting the garden in gold and pink, Liam whispered the words that had been sitting in his chest for a year. "Thank you for finding me, Claire." The little girl turned around just long enough to reply with a grin. "I didn't find you, silly. You found me." They all laughed and kept walking, together, forever. If this story touched your heart, even just a little, we invite you to stay with us. Because here at Restoring Tales, every story reminds us that love, kindness, and second chances still exist. There are more tales waiting, of resilience, of hope, and of quiet heroes among us. So, if you believe in the healing power of love and the beauty of life's small moments, be sure to subscribe to Restoring Tales and turn on notifications, because the next story might be the one your heart's been waiting for. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.